Well, I've got 6:30, Mark. What do you have?
I have 6:29.
Okay.
And no, and 2 seconds. It is now officially 6:30. So we can go ahead and get started. Do you want me to pull down the agenda or you want to leave it up for a second?
Just leave that for a second.
Sure. Okay.
Welcome, everybody. Thank you for joining us. And thank you to Public Works for hosting this again. And especially to Mark De La Rocca, who puts this all together. I don't have a clue on how this stuff works. We'll start off as usual, since this organization is part of the fire department, with our fire chief, Josh Tope. Josh, are you there? Josh is not there. So we'll come back to him. Let's go to the sheriff's office.
No, Josh is here, actually.
Ah, okay.
Yes, just got on.
All right. You're
Cutting it close.
You're on.
I'm up too?
You're up.
Okay. All right. Sorry, I'm late. I was coming back up from the valley. I'm on the side of the I-17 at Rocky Park as far as I made it. Weather's pretty bad down here. So as far as my report goes, even though it's snowing, I want to remind people and talk a little bit about wildland and Firewise stuff. So Bearjaw, our fuels crew, is still planning on doing the cleanup this spring. So look for more information to come. We don't have exact dates, but we're looking at kind of the last end of March, I believe, beginning of April for that. Additionally, we have Firewise inspections. So if you feel like you'd like to have us come up to your property, walk it with you or without you if you're not available, and we can make some recommendations of different things to bring you up to a Firewise standard on your property. That'll help with our Firewise rating, but also not a lot of people know all the details that go along with that, as far as overhanging branches over your chimney, your roof, cleaning your gutters, and just some things that slip our minds sometimes. So those are the two main wildland things. There is another piece dealing with wildland that has to do with grants, but I'm going to let Lucinda cover that. But continuing with grants, the Pinewood Fire District is looking to apply for a couple of grants this year. One's through the Governor's Office of Highway Safety. Both are about in the $50,000 range is the cap on those other grants. And one, we're looking to get some more extrication equipment, which we use mostly on the interstate. And that's kind of what that grant's tailored towards. The other one is actually through Firehouse Subs, which we can do now that there's one in Flagstaff. And we're looking to get basically an automated gurney lift. So it helps us lift the patient and the gurney up into the ambulance. It's hydraulic lift, saves on wear and tear on the guys, back injuries, that sort of thing. And it's also much, much safer for the patient. So that's kind of the grant stuff that we're looking at this spring. Kind of new news, personal into kind of in the district itself is, I think since last time we met, we may have had these two new guys on, but we have hired two new people within the last 3 or 4 months. They both were reserves, but now they're both full-time. So the first one is Ben Stream. He comes to us. He's a paramedic, firefighter. And then the other one is Mac White, who is an EMT firefighter, but has just gotten into a paramedic class down in Yavapai. In addition to that, we also have one of our longtime firefighters, Benny Pospisil, has gotten into a paramedic class down in the valley too. So we have two guys in paramedic class. Quite a lot of schooling going on, quite a lot of grant writing going on, so on and so forth. So I think that's about all I have, Lynn, unless you have any questions for me.
Well, this I know I heard the figure before, but the Bearjaws cleanup last year yielded how many cubic yards of stuff?
Yeah, you're gonna make me try and remember. It was around, I can't remember year to year, but it's between 40 to 60,000 cubic yards. So 40 to 60 equivalent 55-gallon drums, 40 to 60,000. So whatever that equates to in cubic yards. That information is actually, I believe it's on our website, And then Bearjaw also has a little website too that it would be located on as well.
And your
So-
website is
and-
what is your website
Yeah,
again?
It's pinewoodfire.org. And then also if you wanted to go to Pinewood Fire on Facebook, and that would just be at Pinewood Fire. Those figures you'd have to go back to probably around May, but those that press release would also be on our Facebook account.
Is there anything happening with a grant for the new fire station by any chance?
Unfortunately, the grants for fire stations right now, the only thing they really cover would be furnishings. That type of things are typically USDA grants, oddly enough. So yeah, the bigger grants that are targeted towards firefighters are usually through FEMA, and there hasn't been any new building grants since about the 2012 mark.
Wow. Well, how about COVID-19 in Munds Park? Where are we sitting?
So we don't really get very detailed reports anymore. So I basically get the county report that is kind of generalized for the whole entire county. Those numbers are trending down. As far as what we see with call volume, we're not running a ton of COVID calls. That doesn't mean a whole lot. I think people are more educated and this strain isn't hitting them as hard also. So it's still out there, but I feel like everything I'm seeing at least is saying we're on a downward trend at the moment.
Good, super. Well, that's all I have, Josh. Thank you very much. I know it was a busy day going down to Phoenix and coming back. So thank you for checking in for us.
Yeah, you betcha.
Hey, Len, also, I just want to share with everybody, if you do have questions, why don't you go ahead and raise your hand? I will try to unmute you and we can see if we can get them answered. Thank you.
Any questions from anybody? No? Okay. Okay. Next, from our sheriff's office, we have our community deputy, Adam Simonson. Are you on? Yeah, there you are.
Sir, you hear me, Len?
Yeah, can hear you.
Awesome. So I guess just to start with, just a couple of quick items. Obviously, we're getting through winter. We got some nice storm today, but we are going to be preparing for ATV traffic and some summer weather and Airbnbs and stuff coming out with that. Obviously, some extra patrols and doing what we can with the sheriff's office to bump up our presence in that area for that specific stuff. Obviously, we're trying to be mindful of the fact that we've got a lot of residents coming back from secondary homes, and they're going to be getting back into their houses here in the coming months and getting things unpacked. One of our biggest fears, especially in this community and under the circumstances, is people coming back to either damaged houses or suspicious things around the house, or God forbid, burglarized houses. So we would like to reach out to the community and make sure that people are being mindful and watchful for neighbors. If they happen to see anything suspicious out and about, don't hesitate reaching out to us. We would prefer getting a call so we can come check the area and check on anything that appears to be suspicious, rather than not getting a call and finding out that something happened. So just a couple of quick items there. Hoping to see some residents come back and enjoy the neighborhood again. I had also spoke with Len earlier today, and we had discussed a couple of items around stats. And I wasn't sure, Len, did you have anything specific that you wanted to address with statistics in the area or anything?
Well, yeah, in the last issue of the Pinewood News, we had stats for 2021. Now, I'm not sure who generated that for our publisher, but it was pointed out to me in a meeting this past Saturday that all last year we had one speeding offense, and I'm thinking maybe a couple of zeros dropped off after the one. but that's a common topic of people speeding. I was just wondering if that stat is correct.
Absolutely. So I had gone back to the office after we spoke briefly earlier today, and bounced a few ideas off of some different individuals to see if maybe those stats are getting misconstrued from anywhere. I guess to start with, my understanding is LexisNexis could be a originating source of information, and that may not be getting transitioned 100% correct from what our statistical database is reflecting through LexisNexis. So like you, I'm not exactly sure where those statistics came from. I will tell you that we did do a check just for the Munds Park area for last year from January 1st through December 31st. And we do reflect approximately 116 traffic enforcement stops in that particular area. That being said, those particular stops could range from numerous different things, whether it's people being pulled over and given a verbal warning, a written warning, a traffic citation, or potentially even the event of turning into something more criminal, such as a DUI investigation. So we did verify that it does appear that that statistic is slightly off by about 115, according to our record. So we are making a presence. Having done that, I also tried checking some relative statistics in other areas. I went ahead and checked Kachina and Mountain Air area. In comparison, the traffic stops for that area are approximately double in numbers, which it appears to be relatively consistent between those two neighborhoods. We're about double in size. And we also tried factoring in the fact that those particular communities are a lot more fully staffed by residents as well. So I would say in comparison, the traffic stop ratio between the both of those appears to be consistent as far as Munds Park receiving as much attention as our Kachina and Mountain Air areas are. I also went ahead and looked for calls for service just to kind of get a general idea of what kind of statistics we have going on in there. The sheriff's office had 1,568 calls for service throughout last year in the Munds Park area, which is relatively where we would expect to see it. I know last summer we had quite a few complaints in the area for disturbing the peace type issues. Hopefully we quashed as many of those as we can, and we'll be tentatively keeping an eye out for that type of stuff again this year. As we discussed in previous meetings toward the end of last summer, we expect to see a lot more ATV traffic, a lot more out of town traffic coming in, and possible public disturbances come with that, obviously. We'll try to remain attentive to those issues as they come in. Another statistical factor that we look at when it comes to traffic stops is Mountain Air is obviously a hub for the main forest areas there. And those forest roads will dump out into a spider web of ATV fun that stretches all the way up to Mountain Air area, all the way out east toward Mormon Lake area. So a lot of our attention when we do go down to the Munds Park area, not only is the community, but also accessing those Forest Service roads and conducting traffic enforcement and ATV enforcement, as well as other disturbing the peace type calls, any kind of campers in that forested area. So those type of things draw us to Munds Park, and we try to remain attentive to the area as those calls come in.
Good. There's a lot of conversations and discussions rather on the VRBOs and the Airbnb situation. I know I just recently heard that our condo and townhouse area, that's an HOA, by the way, will be the residents will be voting on whether or not to even allow a unit to be rented out like that. Do you have any kind of feeling for increased calls because of the renters? I mean, I'm not sure it's a good question, but
you know what, I think that's a great question, Lynn. To give a professional or accurate standpoint, it's hard to say. I don't have any statistical data that shows that there's an increase of crime or issues just because an Airbnb is in the area. I will say, just from experience and from fellow deputies' experience, yes, we do get calls to B&Bs from time to time. At the same time, usually more often than not, we communicate with people that are very receptive to our presence. I would venture to say more often than not, when I speak to guests at B&B, they're more willing to rectify whatever the issue is, turning music down or fixing parking situations. And they usually appear to be decent guests once an issue is brought to their attention. Obviously, they're not from these particular areas. They're guests of the area, so they don't know their neighbors. They look at it as a vacation away from home. And so sometimes they do get a little noisy. But more often than not, I have noticed that we don't have too big of an issue communicating to these people. If a issue is brought to our attention, they're very receptive to working with law enforcement and rectifying the issue.
I'm sure there are not pros and cons, but I'm sure there are some that are not very receptive.
Sure.
I can give you
And
I can give you an address on that if you like.
And you know what? You have my email address, and I would be more than happy. I'm not too tech savvy, but if you wanted to put my work email address out there to anybody from the community, they are more than welcome to reach out to me. And if there's a specific issue that's reoccurring and they feel that their issues are not being addressed by reaching out to us specifically, they're more than welcome to reach out to me and see if there's anything I might be able to assist with. If you do that, I do ask that maybe in the subject line, we put something like Munds Park community. That way it stands out to me as nothing spam related. But yeah, that's something that we try to be attentive to. If there are repeat offenders and issues that just are not getting addressed that maybe should be getting addressed more frequently or accurately, I'd be more than happy to take a look into it. And if we need to speak to each other about it on a more one-on-one basis, I'm more than willing to reach out to everybody and figure that out.
Great. I'm still waiting for you to have time to come down. Let me take you on a sort of a tour. I don't know if you've been inside the clubhouse. I don't know if you've been inside the fire station, those kind of things. If you had a few minutes, I'd be happy to share some of my experience. Being a 54-year resident of that place, be happy to do that. Absolutely.
And if you're back at the house more frequently, maybe we get something going now that the holidays are over and maybe schedules are clearing up some more.
Good. Let's do that. Thank you very much, Adam.
Thank you.
Any questions for Adam before we let him go?
Len, it looks like Randy has his hand raised, so I'm going to allow him to talk over there. Randy, if you want to unmute and want to talk, how you doing today?
I'm doing well. How about you?
I'm doing great. Thank you.
So, you address the VRBOs and that kind of thing. I didn't have an issue with that. I was living on Caribou, a small single wide and a half for 17 years. I just moved on to Mescalero Drive. And now I come to find out there's signs in people's yards saying, turn down the people that, are allowing to have VRBOs. And I'm like, okay, I didn't know that that was an issue. But apparently, so since I moved in here in November, we're not 100, we're basically, we come up here in the summer. I'm up here in the summer. I retired 5 years ago, but I do come up in the winter a lot. I am up here right now. So we have a neighbor across behind us on Mescalero. We have this beautiful, looks like Oak Creek Canyon wash, and they always have their lights on. And so I called Bob Junkus. I think y'all know Bob, right?
Yes, I know Bob.
Yeah, I know you do.
Pinewood Realty.
Yeah. And he gave me the name. He thought it was Nancy, somebody's family member, and she goes, "No, it wasn't our house." At any rate, so what happens is they keep their lights on, and I'm a big stargazer, and I love looking at the stars. So when these people, and apparently it is a VRBO or one of those, they leave the lights on, and I'm like, okay, so Bob wasn't able to give me a definitive answer of who owned that place. Who do I go to? And how do I get that information? It's very simple. Just turn out the lights when you're done with it. If you're in your backyard, that's fine. I think in the summer, it'll be easier because I've got a lot of trees that'll cover it up. But I would like to have those lights turned out at night.
Well, I don't believe, Randy, this is Lynn. I don't believe we have any kind of an ordinance on lights that I'm aware of. As far as finding out who owns the place, one of the objects of Community Watch is to have information on every homeowner, phone numbers, emails, and all that kind of stuff, which is used by the sheriff's office. In fact, Adam today just told me that he keeps his binder in his cruiser or his truck. And also the fire department uses that. So I might be able to help you that. If you could offline, give me a call, 928-600-3896, and I'll try and get some information on that person for you. Okay.
Yeah, I've actually worked with you. I've looked at a few homes with you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So.
Just give me a call. Thank you.
Okay. That sounds good.
Okay. Now.
So what else is going on in the Munds Park? What's going across the street over on the west side?
Well, I don't think we have enough time to discuss everything that's going on over there, but you're talking about the RV park?
Yes.
Yeah, well, they sold 48. It was in the paper. You should, if you haven't read it, the Pinewood News, grab one from the post office. They sold phases 1, 2, 3, and 4 in the recreation building for $48 million. The new company is called wow. Somebody remember? Sandy, do you remember? Inspiration something or other, I think. As far as the old RV park owners have kept all the fringe stuff, AGs, Codas,
Okay.
all those buildings, the old garage. So, and there are lots in back of the RV park that are being bought by people, and there's some discussion there on that's where that RV park was going to be put, the new RV park. So there's a lot of activity. I'm also on the sanitary district board, so I get a lot of information there on what's happening, but it's really too much to talk about in our time that we have right now. So again, call me offline. I try to fill you in with more stuff, Randy. Okay.
Okay. Sounds good.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank
Hey,
you.
Len, we have a question in our chat from it's Erwin Malamud, and it's like, is Munds Park a dark sky community? If not, is there a community interest in becoming one?
Wow, Adam, can you help me on that?
As far as I'm aware, well, I'm just not aware. That's absolutely something I would love to look into for you guys and try getting back to you.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Again, looks like I could probably put my email in the message string here. So I'd be more than willing to put my email in there. And Erwin, if you want to shoot me an email, and you and I could discuss more about that and what all is entailed in dark sky communities and what's enforceable and what's not. We could discuss that. As far as the interest, obviously the community might be able to come together and determine if that's something they're interested in discussing further, obviously.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Adam.
All right. Len, it looks like Sandy has her hand raised. Sandy, if you want to unmute, go ahead.
Can you hear me?
We can, yes.
Okay, great. We are a dark sky community, and how I know this is because Barachos, when they were getting their building permits and things like that, and I believe Bill told me the same thing for Martino's, was that they had to put in special lighting, and they had to work really hard to make sure that the lights didn't hit the sky and that the lights were turned, facing down, and that they were only a certain amount of wattage. So they do consider Munds Park a dark sky community.
But does that only apply to businesses, or does that apply to personal residences also?
I don't know if there's anything that is legally binding, even for Flagstaff, but I know it is for businesses, and I know the paper and a lot of people we talk to, we try to encourage lights out so everybody can enjoy our beautiful skies.
Well, just so everyone knows, Sandy's the publisher of the Pinewood News. So does anybody know Lucinda? Are you there? Do you know who is in charge of that program?
This is Matt Ryan.
Yeah, Matt
Hey,
can go
Len,
ahead.
this is Matt Ryan.
Hi, Matt. Go ahead.
Hey, Len, sorry, I'm sitting in a parking lot doing the meeting right now, so I got lost in my phone. We do have a dark sky ordinance, and we also have a dark sky enforcement officer. And it depends on if you're in zone 1 or zone 2 on the level of enforcement. Community development, just reach out to community development. They can follow up and see what level of restrictions we have in that particular area.
Okay. So who do we contact?
That's community development.
Okay.
Jay Crystalman shop. We just hired a new lighting enforcement officer, and our zoning enforcement officer was our former lighting enforcement officer that we share as a position with the city of Flagstaff. So yes, we do have that out there.
Okay, thank you, Matt. We need to move along here. In the sheriff's office, John Paxton, are you still there, John?
I am. I see hands raised by Randy and Lucinda, so I want to make sure that their questions get answered if they still have questions.
Okay.
Thanks, John.
I'll take it down. I was going to respond if Matt wasn't available.
And then I see Randy. Randy, you still have a question, or did you already ask that?
No, I just wanted to actually add in to what I was saying about the lights on in Munds Park. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, good. People, the VRBOs having the lights on, and I don't know how to address that. So I'm glad to know that we do have a low light situation. So I can see I'm a total stargazer, and that's very important to me. I come up here, I'm usually up here almost, 6 months, 8 months a year. So that's very important. So it was good to hear that we actually do have that ordinance.
Okay. Well, we can take this further offline if you would. We have a large agenda and we have to move along.
Okay. Good.
Okay.
I'm all good, Lynn.
Thank you. All right, John Paxton, you're on.
Thanks, Len. I appreciate it. Yeah, I just wanted to clarify that, and I want to thank Supervisor Ryan for jumping in there. Yeah, do not for dark sky communities and issues like that. You can contact the sheriff's office, but we are going to send you to community planning, and because that is not something that we enforce. Generally, that is an HOA or a planning and zoning or community development issue that you want to address. So anyways, thanks, Len. Thanks for having me here tonight. I wanted to talk about some of the stuff that we're doing within the community programs for the county right now. We have a lot of stuff coming up. One thing I did want to address, because I heard Deputy Simonson talking about it, and it's something that we all see, and you all especially see it every summer, and in the shoulder seasons, is your ATV activity and some of the issues that you have. And we will be doing a information checkpoint this summer, probably out, and I apologize, I always get the road wrong. I want to say the 244, the one that takes you between Munds and Mormon. Is that 240?
Yes, it is.
Okay, so we'll be setting something up out in that area. This will be strictly an informational point where we hand out brochures and advise people. And I have told people, a lot of my folks and Len and a lot of other communities, that I never really appreciated the issue that you guys have had until I was out there one 4th of July weekend, when I saw the traffic that you had with the four-wheelers, the ATVs, the Jeeps, everything, just the non-stop traffic that you seem to have out there. So we plan on doing that this summer. We'll have our CERT team out there doing, once again, this will be informational. We'll have deputies, they'll be coming by for enforcement, but we will generally use our CERT team out there as just an informational point to educate everybody on what the laws are that apply with the ATVs, side-by-sides and such.
Good.
We do have a CERT class coming up at the end of February. That is going to be 2 Fridays from now. And we will be doing a basic CERT academy. That'll be over the weekend. That's a 20-hour course. And Other than that, we've got some, we're starting to do our neighborhood watch programs, or we've had them going. We are looking to do some neighborhood watch programs now, or some possible startups in the Mountain Air and Kachina area. I'm trying to look at my list here. We're getting ready to start our Woods Watch. We'll have that in April. I know everybody, we always have a good turnout for that. Anybody in the Munds Park area interested, and that is always a big thing in Munds, to have some people out there. So we'll be offering that in April. We'll be continuing with our home show. I just wanted to say, I know I heard, I'm not sure who it was, but they were talking about the Firehouse Subs. We just got a grant from the Firehouse Subs Foundation, and we're buying a new search and rescue boat with that for our lakes around the area, which we wanted to kind of thank them for that. Another hot topic within the community and within the Flagstaff area is Summit Fire. I don't know how many people are aware of that, but they are potentially, and they're researching it right now, but due to budget costs, they are looking to shut down one of their stations on the northeast area of Flagstaff. So that will be either station 31, 32, or 33. And they are going through some different research right now, floating people between those stations, trying to figure out where they're going to go with that. And hopefully they don't have to shut anything down. So the Donny Park area planning community, Donny Park, Fernwood, Timberline area planning committee which has been going on for about 2.5 years now, is getting ready to come to a conclusion with what they're doing. They're getting back to their in-person meetings, so that's pretty exciting. Everybody's looking forward to that. So other than that, we're moving into, as everybody can see, we're probably going to start moving back into in-person meetings here pretty soon, with hopefully things coming to or easing up with the pandemic. Other than that, I don't have a whole lot to report unless there's some questions.
Thank you, John. I don't have a question. Anybody else for John?
I'm seeing Randy has her hand raised. Randy, do you have a question? Okay.
I do. Can you hear me?
You bet.
Okay. So one of my questions was, this is kind of like maybe a little bit off topic, but kind of talking about the, ATVs. Are you allowed to drive your ATV? I have a side-by-side down I-17 to Stebley Hill Road and go down that road. Is that legal?
Okay.
I'm street legal. I have all the, everything, the license plates and everything that's supposed to be allowed for law in the on road.
Yep. Great question. Thank you, Randy. What I'm going to do is I'm going to defer that to Adam, because that is more of a criminal or civil citation issue, and I'm going to have him answer that for you.
Yeah, absolutely. So you'd mentioned that everything is licensed and everything. That's essentially what we're going to be looking at, is making sure that it is registered for the roadway. I know with OHV, there's typically 3 different types of registration you get through the MVD. So our biggest concern is obviously making sure that it is properly registered and properly equipped with all necessary equipment. To go over that list would probably take much longer than what we got right now. So I did include my email address on the side here, and I know we are trying to move on with some precious time. Please reach out to me with an email. I'd be more than happy to get you all the information required to make sure it's properly registered and safe ways in maneuvering that around the community.
Thank you, Adam. Thank you, Randy. John, do you have anything else?
No, I'm good. Unless there's some more questions for me.
Seeing none, let's move on. Thanks, John.
Thank you.
All right, Andrew Hostad, how's the forest coming?
Hey, Len, good to be here tonight. Everyone, I'm the fire prevention technician here on the Flagstaff Ranger District of the Coconino National Forest. Got a few things. Mark, if you're good with it, I'm going to share a screen.
Go for it.
Okay. All right, let me know when you can see that.
We got it.
Should be kind of showing from the beginning there. But wanting to go over a few things, seasonal wildfire outlook. After that, probably talk a little bit about prescribed fire and any other smoke in the area that folks would be knowing or seeing. After that, Southwest Wildland Fire or Wildfire Awareness Week, March 27th through April 2nd. And then resources available for homeowners to help, harden the home against wildfire impacts and that sort of thing. And then lastly, kind of update on the various timber projects around Munds Park. So jumping right in with the seasonal wildfire outlook. This is coming from the the Southwest Coordination Center in Albuquerque. There's kind of 5 major factors that are going to most influence what kind of wildfire season we're going to see here in the Southwest. And starting off with it's no secret to anybody, we're in a long-standing drought, many areas across the region. Although, with the heavy monsoons that we had last summer and into the fall, or late summer, definitely helped out. We're not in nearly as bad a shape, and there's going to be a person from National Weather Service after me, so I don't want to hit too much on the weather, but we still are seeing that drought. Not as bad as heading into the season like last year. With that though, fine fuels conditions, those are the lighter, flashier fuels, the grasses and everything that tend to grow from that moisture that we got in there. And so across the region, normal to above normal fuel loading and continuity, meaning continuous grasses and that sort of thing, especially across the southern parts of the region. So definitely southern Arizona and southern New Mexico, with that abundant moisture from the monsoons last year, it allowed a lot of those grasses and herbaceous growing plants to create an overall fuel load. And once those dry out, those are going to be primary carriers of fire. And so we're probably going to be seeing particular increase in above normal fire behavior down in or fire potential in the southern parts. So the folks who come up to Munds Park, and winter further south, there's definitely potential for the homes down in the southern area, but as well as across here, we did see that abundant moisture, and I think we're going to see a lot of grass growth from that and everything. Next, seasonal temperature and precipitation. Generally, we're going to be warmer than normal overall. However, with frequent cooler, colder periods, particularly in February and March, like we're seeing tonight. And everybody be safe driving, but I'll take as much moisture as we can possibly get out of these storms and everything. But overall, generally drier than normal, with some storm systems bringing some moisture, just like we're seeing tonight. They did say mainly focused east of the divide. So that's over in New Mexico at times. So they're going to be getting a little bit more moisture. At least that was kind of the forecast and everything. But overall, will be a little generally drier and than normal. Number 4, the late spring and early summer weather patterns. Nothing's ever set in stone until it actually happens. More frequent ridging will be seen, kind of in the late spring, early summer time frame, with some active storm systems kind of sliding to the east and north across the region, with some backdoor cold frontal activity likely to the east and northeast as well. Overall, again, it's going to get back into that kind of generally drier and warmer with occasional breaks in that with some storm activity. Then 5, the monsoon. Early indications are putting it slightly early to kind of average time frame, first part to middle of July. And early indications are saying normal to above normal. But again, the National Weather Service is going to be on after me, so I don't want to beat that, as they definitely know it much better than I do. But bottom line, when it comes to what we're expecting for the wildfire seasonal outlook around here, up and down patterns overall through the spring with general dry conditions to result in an earlier than normal start to large fire season. So, as everybody can tell with how dry it's been and stuff, we're trending that way, and definitely things for people to be aware, be prepared. And, Chief mentioned some things with the bear jaw, and I think Lucinda is gonna mention some grant opportunities. So we definitely want to be focusing on being prepared early. These outlooks here, you can see February is in the upper left corner. We're in the normal fire potential for the whole state of Arizona right now. In March, which is in the upper right there, you can see southeastern Arizona just starts to get into the above normal fire potential. Moving into April, you're starting to see it sweep across most of New Mexico, and then even more so of the southeastern Arizona. And then by May, kind of southern Arizona is going to be in that above normal. We're still luckily listed in normal, but that doesn't mean that we won't have the potential, especially on some of those red flag days, to have some large fires, some fast moving fires and that sort of thing. It just means that we're in our normal large fire potential and everything, not that we can't have it, if that makes sense to everyone. So again, trending drier and warmer is going to lead to that creeping up of above normal conditions throughout the region. Next thing, just wanted to mention the Southwest Wildfire Awareness Week is going to be March 27th through April 2nd. I know Chief was talking about the bear jaw crew doing a bunch of the removal and stuff. Hopefully that coincides with that week. I think it kind of has in the past. It's a great time to start being prepared. The motto or theme this year is don't wait for the fires to start, prepare and be aware. So, before the fire season is when you should be taking the time to do all the work around your homes and that sort of thing. Definitely wanted to make sure that gets out. There will be different activities and more stuff that comes closer to that week. The Arizona State, a bunch of the Forest Service or the different forests across the region here will be participating in that with various activities and things. And it's a great time to get things scheduled. Like the chief was mentioning those Firewise home assessments. So people get on it early because fire season's going to be here before we know it. We just had one on Super Bowl Sunday out in the forest near here, kind of down the 132 for folks that are aware of where that is. So, fires can happen every month of the year these days, and be prepared and be aware. Next thing with that, I just wanted to mention, I did have it earlier on there on the agenda for here is prescribed fire projects in the area. Currently, we don't have anything scheduled directly adjacent to Munds Park. Those that have been longtime residents have known about the various mechanical and prescribed burning projects that we've done immediately in that kind of donut or bubble right around Munds Park that is going a long ways into protecting the community and making it much more fire hardened towards potential impacts and everything. We are in the process of reprioritizing a bunch of prescribed burn units. Like I said, nothing immediately adjacent to Munds Park at this time. However, you know, we are back into the treatment realm again. You know, with COVID and everything, we kind of held off putting a bunch of smoke in the air to keep everybody's at-risk respiratory systems from also dealing with the smoke. But we are back into burning. Many of you have probably seen some of the pile burning that we've been doing throughout the winter in areas where we've actually had moisture to do that without, you know, letting the fire spread and everything. So we are going to be doing prescribed burn projects this spring, this fall, and then in the right place at the right time, under the right conditions, we will look to get back into managing natural ignitions to help treat the land, the landscape, and making it more resilient and more fire or resistant to large catastrophic wildfires. Next thing, basically, you know, I'm always available. Len has my contact information, and I'll also throw it into the chat. If people, you know, have specific questions, more than happy to give our perspective and recommendations. Here's just a few quick ones. National Fire Protection Association, NFPA. They're the ones that kind of manage the Firewise and the home ignition zone, which is kind of what you see here. So a great website, can give you all sorts of great information for how to protect your homes and be ready, be prepared for when those wildfires come. The next one is an awesome resource for homeowners. It's Living with Wildfire Homeowners Firewise Guide for Arizona. You know, it's actually printed by the State Department of Forestry and Fire Management, but it's an interagency publication. It's got tons of great information. I really recommend people checking that out. It is up for revisement, but the information in there is really sound, good stuff. So, and then as always, Coconino County Emergency Management and their Ready, Set, Go program. If you have not gotten involved with it or heard about it, I really recommend you checking it out so you are ready because, you know, as we've seen, fires are getting bigger, fire seasons are lasting longer, and you know, we are all just trying to do our part to ensure that what's happened in some of the other places doesn't happen here.
Andrew, does Chief Tope have these websites on his or Josh, do you have these on your website?
So we have the county links, but we do not have the NFPA. We can get that added to our site.
Okay.
We do have the Firewise link, but not the National Fire Protection Association.
So can you get that on your website?
Yeah, we can get that. We can work on that. For sure.
And I can also, you know, drop this little PowerPoint into the chat. I think Mark can help me, and that'll have those links as well for you and that sort of thing.
Okay. Can we get on to your last slide, because we're running out of
Yep,
time here?
Exactly. So just timber update on the kind of two projects right around Munds Park here. As you can see, we got the green area here. That's the Munds Park timber sale west of I-17. The contractor, in our last meeting, I said that the contractor was going to get back in there and hit those last two units. about a total about 228 acres. Couple things happened. They didn't get in there, and then the weather changed and the ground conditions weren't favorable to having heavy equipment work in there without tearing it all up. So they're on hold over here until conditions change and they, the ground solidifies and they can do it without doing a whole bunch of damage. And then the Frog Tank timber sale, which is on hold north and kind of over to the east side of Munds Park a little bit. That is still expected to be advertised April through June. If it's awarded, work could start as early as this summer, but there's a fair chance it wouldn't start until fall or sometime in 2023. I think your residents who are recreate up in here probably saw the orange paint or whatever, the timber paint that they were using to mark and lay out the units and that sort of thing go in late last fall. And that should be coming online, and that will be one more piece to helping protect the overall community of Munds Park. And that's, one thing I did want to mention, I wanted to introduce my boss, True Brown. He is the district FMO or fire management officer. So he's on here checking up, making sure that I'm telling you the right stuff. And he just wanted to say a quick word, and I'll turn it over to him.
Thank you, Andrew.
No, I appreciate it, Andrew. And no, absolutely no checking up needed whatsoever. You're doing an outstanding job, and appreciate you covering all those topics. And no, really, folks, I just wanted to jump on here. And, I know some of you folks know me. I work with Chief Tope quite a bit west there, and Lucinda. But just introduce myself, let you know, going to try to make these meetings more regularly and just get a better sense of what y'all are dealing with down there in Munds Park, and know that it is a very high priority area for us here on the Flagstaff Ranger District. And good coordination. So
thank you, sir. I think fire is our number one concern living where we do. So thank you very much for joining us.
Hey, Len, we do have a question from Joy Tablet. Do we have an evac plan for the park yet?
I'm going to defer that to Chief Tope. Josh, still with us?
I think so.
So there we are. Okay, sorry, couldn't find the mute button there. As was stated in the past few meetings, that evacuation plan is more of a law enforcement function. There's one way in, one way out of Munds Park. So again, we kind of look, I've talked with Driscoll and some of the deputies, and we're kind of hesitant, but they are looking at establishing a plan tentatively. I don't know if either deputy or Paxton can talk more on that, or have any new developments on that for us.
Adam, John, anything else?
So yeah, thanks. Yeah, and that's always a question we run into during this time before fire season. And I think we always want to look for that silver bullet, the one answer that answers all of our questions. But we will obviously work with the fire department along with DPS and everybody. But it really what ends up happening here is that where is that threat coming from? Is it coming from the north or the south? Is it coming from the west or the east? So that's what the real dilemma is. We will deploy people as fast as possible. We have CERT members down there. We'll deploy deputies, and we will evacuate. But just like Chief said, there is one way in and out of there. And so that is really what really falls down to is the homeowners and the residents to really be aware during these times and during this season to keep their ear to media and any kind of emergency alerts. And what I'd like to do is push this, or not push it, that's a bad word. Give a second to emergency management for emergency notifications and the sign up. And Wes, if you want to share some stuff about how folks can sign up for that, that'd be great.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, John. So back to the question on evacuation planning. There is several studies and several efforts toward long-term planning. There are a lot of challenges with planning for evacuation. The technical piece of traffic and how many cars can be on a road and how many cars can get in and out of an area, that's pretty easy to do. And writing a plan is also pretty easy to do. But as alluded, the Sheriff's Department's in charge of ordering evacuations. When it happens, human behavior becomes part of it. And getting people to be prepared and to listen and to understand and to know their routes is really, really important. So there is no, from my office currently, there's no formal effort underway at this time for evacuation planning. However, it is on the it is on the talking list. Lucinda and I have had some conversations about it. I'm currently working on a project with Uptown Sedona that will be focused on evacuation. So I would just ask to stay tuned, take the advice from the Sheriff's Department, make sure you know where you're at. One of the other big pieces is please sign up for our emergency notification system. That will give you a lot, well, as much as we can, advanced warning, advanced information, and specific information put out by the Sheriff's Department to help you stay safe. It's available at coconino.az.gov/ready. It is free, it is absolutely free, and it is absolutely confidential. Please sign up today if you have any problems or questions about that. Myself and Tim Carter, my current interim assistant director, will put our emails here in the chat, and you can reach out to us and we'll help you register.
Thank you, Wes. All right, shall we move on? Okay, next, Emily, you're filling in for Brian. Can you add anything that Andrew didn't already tell us?
Yes, absolutely. So I'm going to share my screen here too. First and foremost, are you guys able to see my screen?
I did first. There it is. Yeah.
Okay, awesome. First and foremost, let's talk about what's going on right now. So I know things have been a little icy along I-17 and in the Munds Park area this evening. Looks like the back end of the snow showers are scheduled to come through your area here in the next half hour to an hour, so you will see improving road conditions. I know the roads are relatively warm, so any ice and snow that is on the roads likely will become slushy and or wet, but there is always the possibility that when temperatures drop overnight, we see some areas of black ice. So, should see an end to the snow showers here in the next 30 minutes to an hour, but could still see some slick driving conditions, particularly overnight and into early tomorrow morning. So that's kind of what's going on right now. As far as what we can expect in the next 6 to 10 days, here's a look at the outlook for the next 6 to 10 days for the Munds Park area. This is coming from the Climate Prediction Center. And we're basically going to see a stormy pattern continue for the next 6 to 10 days. We are still very much in a La Nina winter. We are still seeing, generally below normal precip and warmer than average temperatures. But we're just catching a little break here. It's always a possibility. There are certainly other teleconnections other than La Nina and El Nino that affect our weather pattern in northern Arizona. So we've just kind of caught a break. We've gotten some of those indices to be a bit more favorable, which has allowed the storm track to come over the western U.S. And it looks like, at least for the next 6 to 10 days, that's going to remain a possibility. So you can see specifically for Munds Park there, about a 73% chance of below normal temperatures and about a 34% chance of above normal precip. Now, what you will notice is that is very close to what we call equal chances, where it splits at 33%. And so, it's not a huge indicator of above normal precipitation, but we are leaning slightly that way, at least for the next 6 to 10 days. So there's a look at that map as well. Something I want to point out, I would be remiss to not tell you, you can always get the forecast for Munds Park anytime. I know as sometimes on our social media, we can hear that we're maybe a little Flagstaff centric in our reporting, and that is not our intent whatsoever. We are absolutely here for the people of Munds Park and all the people of northern Arizona, and we have the forecast for everyone available 7 days a week, every single day of the year. There are a web page here, weather.gov/FGZ. So for example here, I can go up into the top corner and I can type in Munds Park, And I can go straight to the 7-day forecast here. You can see as we move through the rest of the week, we're going to see some warming with clearing skies, at least until we get into early next week when we'll start to see more precipitation chances. But you can see there 7-day forecast. As well, here in the point and click map, you can zoom almost all the way down to street level and choose almost whatever street you live on in the Munds Park area to get the forecast. So if you lived on Pinewood here, you can go ahead and click that. It will change and give you the forecast specifically down to your street level. So if you're not always seeing the forecast on our social media, we try to vary the cities that we include, but you can always get the forecast from our website, and that's going to include watches, warnings, advisories, things like that. So as I mentioned, we're going to warm back up into the rest of the week here. And then as we head into next week, we have another system that we're keeping our eye on, another potential for rain and snow, primarily snow for the Munds Park area. So keep your ears open for the next 6 to 10 days. We're looking at a more active weather pattern. Now, lastly here, we are looking at the outlook for the next 3 months. And you can see that generally we're expecting above normal temperatures and above normal precipitation. That again is that La Nina winter signal. Now, as we move into June and July and August in the summer, we look to return to what's called ENSO neutral conditions, so leaning towards the El Nino pattern. But that is not quite as important to our area weather during the summer. We, of course, are more so looking for the monsoonal pattern to develop. And it is accurate to say that that could be a late to normal start to the monsoon, looking around July. So, you know, we will have to bear through the fire season, and then we'll just kind of see what we get from this monsoon season. Of course, last year being a fairly decent monsoon season, which has been helpful. So after we get through the middle of March here, we may return back to a more below normal precip, quieter pattern, warmer temperatures, but there is always the chance that we get another break similar to what we're having right now, where we get a stormier pattern in place, where some of these other teleconnections and indices change and help us get back in a better stormy outlook. So I think there were a couple comments there on the drought monitor. So I just wanted to go ahead and share what the current drought monitor as of February 10th is looking like here. So we, of course, do have some areas in moderate drought, but far less area of severe and extreme drought. And even last year, we were looking at exceptional drought in a few areas near the Four Corners and the Northeast. So we are looking much better, but we are still technically seeing drought conditions. And so, you know, we do need to catch up on some of our winter precip. For the Flagstaff area here, I don't have exact numbers for Munds Park, but for Flagstaff here, we have seen 6.56 inches of liquid precipitation. So that's going to count melted snow and rain since October 1st. And that's about 1.5 inches below normal for the water year, which runs from October 1st to September 30th of this year. As far as snowfall, we've seen 27 inches. At the Flagstaff Airport, and normal would be more around 58 inches. So we're about 30 inches behind normal for snowfall there at the Flagstaff Airport. So we need to catch up on snow so that we can, you know, hopefully move into fire season a little better off in the drought conditions. But hopeful that in the next 6 to 10 days, we will get more than one chance here for some precipitation, and we'll just keep hoping for snow. One thing I will ask is that if you're in the Munds Park community, I was looking back through some of our storm reports, trying to find some snowfall totals, since we don't have a climate station officially or a co-op station in the Munds Park area. We rely on your reports. And I just want to ask that you send us your reports. So if you're seeing snow, grab a ruler, head outside. You can report that to us on Facebook, on Twitter, and then you can also report that on our webpage as well. So yeah, we humbly ask for your reports. We want to know what's going on in Munds Park, and that helps us be able to better put those numbers out there on social media if we get reports from you, the public. So if you go on our webpage under current hazards and click submit a report, you can always submit a snowfall total that way. And then also during the monsoon, you can submit reports that way if you have damage, hail, or rainfall amounts. So send us your reports. We want to know what's going on in Munds Park. And that is all I have. And if there are any questions, I can take those now.
Thank you so much, Emily, for filling in for Brian. Any questions from anybody? And let's move on. Mark Della Rocca has a team from Public Works that he's going to be introducing each person who's going to present. So Mark, you're on.
Mark?
Hi there. Hey, I apologize. Look at me. I wanted to say that we're not just a public works team, we are a county team tonight. And we're very lucky to have our county manager, Steve Peru, who is with our panelist group. Steve is always trying to make these. He's so incredibly busy, and we're just so blessed to have him as part of our team. So Steve, now that I'm on off of mute, would you like to say hi to everyone?
Oh, yeah, I know there's a big agenda tonight, a lot of good information. I appreciate it. It's good to be able to be with you all this evening. So yeah, let us know if I can do anything over here at admin downtown. So good to see you all. Take care.
Thank you, Steve.
Terrific. Without further ado, we move on to our Public Works Director and Deputy County Manager, Lucinda Andriani, who last time was on injured reserve. So we're really happy to have her back. We're really happy to have her back now. Hi, Lucinda.
Great. Hi, Mark. Hi, Len.
Hi.
Good evening, everyone. Great to be back together. Sorry I missed you last time. Got a few updates here. One, and I think Chief Tope may have briefly mentioned this. I got a call right as we were starting, so I was on a couple minutes late, but we have some good news to report. It's not finalized yet. But it appears very likely that a joint effort with the, and I want Josh and Chief Tope to speak to this as well, but joint effort with the fire district as well as the Highlands Fire District and with the county, we pursued a grant. Now it's been, gosh, I think this started about a year ago. These processes take forever. We have strong indications that we're going to receive upwards of about $400,000 to put toward some efforts within Munds Park to thin out some of primarily the drainage, a couple of the drainage ways that we have there. And Chief Tope has a lot more of the detail, and I know he's spoken to those properties. And Jay Smith, our Forest Restoration Director, has been in those conversations as well. But the intent there is a number of these areas have got a lot of brush, dead and down wood on the ground. Some dead and dying trees that need to come down, and just in general pose a real strong fire hazard to the community. So we applied to FEMA for it's called a hazard mitigation program grant. And again, it looks like we had a smaller amount initially. They've come back and said they actually want to provide us with additional funding. So we haven't actually gone through the entire application process yet, but we're nearing completion of that. But given the indication that they want to give us more money, we think it's very likely it will be approved. And I want everyone to know that again, my understanding is that Chief Tope has been out. He's, I think, been communicating over the last year or so with the property owners who would be potentially involved in this. Everyone that would be involved will be, required to sign what's called a cooperator agreement, providing the legal access to the property. So you will be thoroughly informed about what is the plan. You'll have to agree to the plan because obviously you aren't going to sign the cooperative agreement if you don't. And but the goal is to really try to get some of those areas cleaned up and reduce down the risk. many of those, those drainages within Munds Park are, if you look at fire maps and so forth, the guys from the Forest Service will tell you, fire loves to run up canyons, right? There's a draft, there's air, typically. And so thinning out those areas, cleaning those up, could have a very positive impact. On a broader front, you probably are aware that at the federal level, Congress approved a bill, an act. It's the Infrastructure and Jobs Act. We affectionately call it IIJA. And that bill contains some really, really important opportunities for our county and our communities. And there's about 4 pieces to that are really important to understand the opportunity. I'm going to let Jay Smith speak to the overall forest restoration piece, and I'm going to speak to the 3 others. But one is very somewhat similar to what I just described, in that one of the components of this bill, and this act is thousands of pages long, but one component, and this was actually authored by Senator Kelly's staff that we work very closely with. It's called Community Wildfire Defense Grants, and it's providing $500 million, $500 million to the Forest Service to grant out to communities that are at high risk for forest fire within the communities and typically adjacent to their communities as well. But this is specifically for thinning and Firewise efforts within communities, not on the national forest. Jay Smith's going to speak to that, but this money is for communities that are at high risk, like Munds Park, like Kachina, like Mountain Air. And so what it provides is it'll provide up to $10 million per community. There's also money for planning efforts. We are fortunate in the greater Flagstaff area that there is a plan already in place through the Greater Flagstaff Forest Partnership, of which Munds Park and Pinewood Fire District is a member and participant in that effort. And so one of the criteria is that you have to have a valid plan in place that's been created within the last 10 years. And we do in the greater Flagstaff area. So that's a really positive thing. So we met now about 2 weeks ago with the fire chiefs, most of the fire chiefs across the county, and particularly in the greater Flagstaff Williams area, had a discussion, and there's a lot of interest in working together to collaborate and share resources. There is a requirement for the thinning grants of up to a 25% grant match. So I really encourage the fire chiefs to start having these discussions with their fire district boards about building funding in to match these grants. And we're also having that conversation at the county level as well. What kind of role could we have to support this effort, working again with Greater Flagstaff Forest Partnership and the fire district. So that's a tremendous opportunity. I think I think potentially we are very competitive. This GFPP has been pretty successful over the years, as now we've got this grant from FEMA. I'm hopeful we'll be very competitive, but we will have to identify the match. And this work is not cheap. It's not cheap work. It's pretty expensive because some of the work will have to be done by arborists, people who have technical tree removal skills, because some of these trees may be right adjacent to homes and that type of thing. And again, we're going to need people's cooperation to work with you. All this will require, again, probably an instrument very similar to what we're doing for the FEMA grant. So we're really excited about that. This could really have a positive impact, and we're we're really pushing on the Forest Service on the regulatory front, how they set up the regulations for this grant so we can compete as an area. There are also grants. There are grants that are called Protect grants and Resiliency grants. And we're starting to look more closely at those. And there's some possibility that those can be used for evacuation planning efforts. And looking at, resilient infrastructure. We're looking at those as well through the IIJA. So I think that's what I had to cover tonight, Len, and there'll be a lot more information. Right now, we're not even clear on the timing on this FEMA grant. Money may come as early this fall, may get pushed to later. Not clear exactly when that'll all come about. You'll hear a lot more as we move forward with both of those opportunities. So with that, I'll turn it over to Jay Smith. Thank you.
Thanks, Lucinda.
Good evening, everybody. I just wanted to report, we had the chief of the Forest Service come to Flagstaff in November. During that time, he announced as part of this IIJA, this infrastructure bill, that they would be focusing on the Forest Restoration Initiative area. And with that, committing $54 million to Northern Arizona. 10 million of that goes right to road infrastructure, kind of redoing and rebuilding roads within the different national forests. But also with that is a lot of forestry initiatives, forest restoration projects. They're looking at ones that already had partnerships like Bill Williams that the county was part of, and FWPP, the Flagstaff Watershed Protection Project, CC Cragen. So there's a lot of projects going on, but it also, will continue throughout the next 5 years of $54 million a year. So, there's going to be a lot of work that's going to get done quickly. So want people to be aware of that. And the county, our role is to really play as how can we partner and help get more funding here and leverage that funding for our communities. So that's kind of what we're doing from the forestry side. And then also we are just now completing the Munds Park Oak Creek watershed study. It's a post-wildfire flooding study that we're doing with J.E. Fuller Hydrology and Geomorphology. We'll be done with that within the next month or so. So by the next meeting, we'll be able to give a quick report on that to show you what we're looking at as far as how will forest restoration impact, reduce that fire threat, and then, be able to see how we're prioritizing some of the areas and working with the Forest Service on that as well. So that's what I wanted to report real quickly, just to let everybody know that we've got a huge opportunity, once in a lifetime probably, and we're going to try to do our best to leverage as many federal dollars as possible for our local communities.
Sounds great, Jay. Thank you. Mark, do you have anybody else?
I do not. I do see that it looks like somebody posed a question, Nancy. Lucinda, will this be able to help with riprap this spring on the west side by the Chevron, Church, Cotus, and Agees?
If you mean riprap there for the drainage, is that what you mean, Nancy?
I think that's what she means. Yeah.
Yeah, I will. No, in terms of the grants, probably not. No, but I will have the hydrologist take a look at, what's happening there, and as that area continues to develop, we're in communication, with the developers, and I think Len, maybe next time too. It might be good to we could have Jay Chrisselman come on and do an update for what is happening with that property and the development plans.
Okay, thank you. Mark, was that, are you going to have Wes Dyson? Do you have anything more?
Yeah, Len, I'll be very quick. I'd like to toss it over. Emergency Management is currently handling the application for the grant that Lucinda spoke of, the Hazard Mitigation Grant Program application. I'm going to toss it over to Tim and Chief Tope. We've been working with Jay to get this done. It's a long process, but I'll let Tim give you a couple little highlights and then anything that Josh wants to bring into the conversation as well.
Hey, thanks, Wes, and good evening, Lynn. Good to see everybody. Yeah, just very briefly, Lucinda was correct. We started this initial grant submission back in early 2020. We'll just say pre-COVID, and have been working on it ever since. So the timeline, probably the big question that everybody has is when will work start? When can we start working on it? Unfortunately, as Jay and Lucinda both mentioned, this is a timely process. We have submitted the initial grant to the state. There's a lot of different review processes along the way. So the state is reaching back out saying, here's some more information, here's some questions we have. We get that information to them, then it goes to FEMA. FEMA will reach out to a lot of the tribal entities and nations around this area to see if they have any claims to the land. They do the environmental and heritage protection assessments for that on both the federal and state level. So, our best bet now, we're looking maybe this time next year before we actually get a final award. And then by the time we can actually get boots on the ground to do work, we're looking at either next spring, next fall, somewhere in there. So we're looking at grant total number wise. The final dollar amount is just in the neighborhood of $394,000, which $315,000 of that is going to be federal, which leaves $79,000 locally. So big thanks to the Supervisor Ryan and the chair of the board. They did approve the local match, which will be part of county time, labor, and dollars, as well as some resources from Pinewood Fire in terms of labor and things like that. So it definitely has been a team effort. We really do appreciate Pinewood's leadership and support on that. Chief Tope's been really pushing for this. So we're glad to help, and our emails are in the chat. So if you have any questions on it, feel free to let us know.
Thank you. Any comments, questions?
Yeah, Len, this is Chief Tope. Just real quick, I know people are probably wondering about locations. So I just want to let everyone know that we've had long-standing hazard maps, basically fired hazard maps that are we're focused mainly within Munds Park and on private property. So if people remember, we treated the Munds Canyon wash through the park with our Bear Jaw crew. That was through a grant, kind of the similar situation that we're trying to do here. So this grant, we started out, we were looking at like kind of the Navajo slope and the homes back in there. And then across the street from the fire station, the drainage leading up through the center of the park is our initial treatment. Those dollar amounts keep changing and growing, fortunately. So that's not an issue for us. We can pull in more partners. We can also move to the next phases of our maps. So we have talked to those community members of those initial phases we have selected. They are in the loop that this is happening and that it's going to be a lengthy process. But so those are kind of the locations. If anybody wants details, again, you can get my email through our website, pinewoodfire.org. Contact me, and if you have any additional questions or specifics.
Thank you, Josh. All right, Matt Ryan, we don't have much time for you. I'm awfully sorry, but as you've heard, we have a lot of important stuff regarding our fire safety and whatnot. But you're it. Go ahead, Matt.
Thanks, Len. I'm sitting in the parking lot down on Happy Valley Road outside of Panera. So just quickly, first and foremost, thank you all. You can see the county's doing quite a bit, but not just the county, working together with our regional partners. And it's so important, the relationship between community and what we're doing and these efforts that they just talked about. We're counting on people helping us and working together with us. As noted, private property, we need cooperation, just as we do encouraging people to be Firewise associated with it. I'd like to introduce Tammy Suho Vieco. She and Greg is on also, but Tammy's taking Greg's place. So Tammy, would you say hello to everybody there?
Yes, thanks, Matt. Yes, I wanted to say hello to everyone out there in Munds Park. This is my third week in the position. I've been with the county for 15 years, working in the county attorney's office, briefly with the sheriff's office, and then with facilities management. And I'm really excited to be working with Supervisor Ryan. So if there's anything you need, feel free to reach out.
In order for you to answer their questions, though, they have to pronounce your last name correctly. Is that the way we go? I've been working on.
Yeah, that's like the password, Len. You got to say my last name.
I've been working all day, but Matt, you said it correct. Nice to have you, Tammy.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
And Tammy comes walking right in and doing an excellent job. She will have the same contact information as Greg did related to our phone number in the office. And also, for the county, it's first initial spelling and the last name. Good luck on that if you want to look Tammy up. But
I'll put my contact info in the chat.
Oh, that would be wonderful. Thank you, Tammy. And just a note, Greg's done a wonderful job. He's working with flood control with Lucinda. Definitely, perfect position for him. You haven't seen the last of Greg out there. Just a note real quickly, Tom Eade, he was appointed by our merit selection committee for selecting judges. That committee, Dick Drennan, actually sits on with other members that I've been able to appoint, but Tom Eade is out there. We're waiting for the governor's approval. If anybody in Munds Park wants to write the governor's office and suggest that they move with the merit selection committees, that would be very helpful. We've been waiting for about 5 months now for them to give approval to the selection committee's recommendations associated with it. My understanding is Tom wanted to bring up, and I've heard it a little bit here about short-term rentals. Unfortunately, it's kind of a virtue and a bane at the same time. There are people that are doing it and doing well and very respectful. And it's given some wherewithal for those that may need a little bit of extra money, living here. However, once the governor approved the legislation, it removed our ability to do anything with enforcement. We were proactive in creating an ordinance that we were ready to begin implementing, and then we had state law come and pretty much remove our ordinance because of issues that have arisen around the state. We've been working for about 3 years now on trying to get legislation that at least gives us tools to help out. And there were 2 different sides. One is for tax parity. If you have 3 or more of these units, you're obviously a business and shouldn't be having residential tax. Primary property taxes, secondary property taxes, you're a business, and it creates equity for the hotels, as well as the other side of it is we've seen corporates starting to buy up neighborhoods like in Sedona. The Marriott as a chain is buying residences and then renting them out as short-term rentals, and it's a way of getting around the more traditional zoning associated with commercial. So we're aware of that. We know about the party house concept, and as noted by our deputy, there are a lot of good people doing this, but we still need tools. So there are about five bills in play. There's more than 5 bills in play associated with short-term rentals, but we have 3 of them that if they do go through, and we're working them, may give us the tools. we've been down testifying. Tomorrow I'll be at County Supervisors Association. We'll have the whole association voting on one of those bills to put support in, and we'll continue to try and put, if we get the organization behind us, we could put a statewide press in legislation and see if we're successful associated with it. So we're certainly aware of issues that have bubbled up. The other default factor, and Len and some of the rest of that are in real estate, it really is affecting workforce housing. People are having difficulty that live here affording the ability to have a house. And so if we have the ability to potentially restrict his zones, that's a possibility. That's in some of the language, but it's our struggle. So swing over to our, big job that we get into is the funding. We're fiscally conservative. We're very efficient, or we attempt to be, with how we budget, where we allocate resources. But we're having a crisis, losing employees and not being able to hire them. I could tell you right now, and John could follow up if he wishes, from the sheriff's office side of things, they're down on officers. We're losing them to other agencies. We give them a stipend to help them buy a house, and that's helped. So we've gotten creative. We want to support our law enforcement, but there's a strong competition out there, and we will be considering perhaps an emergency pay plan. Steve Peru, who was on this call, he'll be bringing that forward to the board to consider, and that can help, hopefully help us with that. The other side of that is, for the jail, we're down. What is it? About almost 50 employees for working in the jail. So again, these are issues that, as we budget what we're trying to do, we have great employees, quite professional. You heard quite a bit from them. You can see areas that we're trying to work together and put things forward to help you as a community. But the stress on being able to afford to live here is it's a crisis for us right now, and we're going to try and work through that with the budget. Just noting quickly from the community development perspective, some of the work that you're seeing over on the west side of the highway is that ADOT is actually has a temporary use permit for a facility yard over there. It's been there for a bit. People have seen it, but we're aware of it. It was noted the Schuster sold the RV park, and the new owner is renewing expansion permits. So we did approve a phase 3 of that park to the north end of the park. They renew their permits. They still have rights that were already approved, so people are aware of that. Code enforcement positions, we have some good people now. We have 2 positions filled for the entire county, but we have good people out there. So if there are issues associated with it, as noted with the dark skies, they contacting community development. That's where we house our zoning enforcement. And then the dark sky piece, just to make you aware, we've worked with Camp Navajo and the Naval Observatory, which is a critical observatory as far as all electronics, whether for national defense or for our economy. They map the stellar sky. We have an ordinance that needs to be updated. We're waiting for City of Flagstaff to move forward with theirs. And hopefully after they proceed with theirs, and if it gets approved, we will follow sync, bringing it to our board to see if the board would be willing to approve that. And it's to deal with LEDs. Lighting's changed quite a bit. So we had to look at impact on dark skies for the hobbyists, as well as for our critical not just the Naval Observatory, but we have Lowell, the astronomical community here. It's a quiet industry, but a very important one, that woods. And so, and then since True Brown is on here, congratulations on winning the 100K in Black Canyon City. He's a monster. He can run long distances and win races. So congratulations to him. You've heard quite a bit. There's a lot more going in the county. Most people don't use us until they need us. With COVID, we've been geared up quite a bit. We hope that it will subside, but most importantly, we still are advocating for preventative. Get your boosters, get your shots, get your boosters. If you're feeling ill, stay home. Even if you have a scratchy throat, that might only be the only indicator that you have out there. So we need to protect other people, particularly the vulnerable populations, our children, our elderly, those that are immunocompromised. So, along with that, as you heard, we deal with emergencies. You're well aware of it. Our folks with multiple agencies are there for you, but we've been going through an emergency for almost 2 years, and we use a lot of our employees, much beyond just Health and Human Services. There's a fatigue factor that we continue to work on. Wonderful employees, but if you see people working out there, please be complimentary to them. They're working really hard and trying to do the right thing for your sake. And as noted, this meeting's gone a long time. You don't need to hear more from me right now. You can always pull me in. I'll come down if you need me, or contact me through my office numbers, and or, as you know, we have multiple departments. Don't hesitate to get on our website and reach out to the appropriate departments. Thank you, everybody, and thank you, Len.
Thank you, Matt. Thank you, Matt.
Yeah, Len, we have a couple of closeout questions. I know they've been patiently waiting. Randy, do you have a quick question? Okay, let me see right here. Okay, not hearing that, so I think that's it.
Okay, the next meeting, the next community meeting will be on May 18th. There's some thoughts. Chief Tope thought maybe we might be able to host this at the fire station as we have done in the past. And I know Lucinda is anxious to get back into a face-to-face situation. So we will be making that decision. Mr. Josh Tope, Chief Tope, and Lucinda will be the big players on making that decision. Thank you, everybody. I'm sorry to run a little bit over, and it wasn't Matt's fault this time. Good night.
Good night. Good night,
Thanks,
everyone.
Len. Good night, everybody.
Thank you.
Good night, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Take care.
Good night.